Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies 1 minute at a time. I'm your host, Todd. Across from me, I've got my buddies, Sean and Richard.
Hey, Todd. Hey, hello, everybody.
Hello. So we are up to minute 82.
Yes, sir.
Sean, you want to tell us what happens at minute 82?
We're starting with that same guard smoking a blunt and ends with Julius walking towards the camera. That turns out who it is.
And what about your count? Do you want to give us a count?
We'll keep it going. 2 living humans, 2 confirmed dead, a shootiness of apes, and a gaggle of humans. And so, yes, it is Julius, by the way. My question from yesterday has been answered.
He says it. The person, the unnamed chimp that comes to things says, "Are you Julius?"
Chimpanzee. Don't call him a chimp. That's racist.
It occurred to me that since we're staying with just within this minute, we really can't go into anything other than what this young chimp presents himself in this minute.
Yes.
So even though we may have knowledge about what...
Are you talking future knowledge?
I don't have future knowledge. I do this like every other minute. I'm like, we can't talk about future knowledge except for just what's happening at this particular moment.
It does make your mind kind of wonder about how movies work, because movies are that idea that I'm going to expose information that other characters may not have. It's the whole classic Hitchcock thing, that to create a threat is to give the audience information a character
that they
doesn't.
know the character doesn't. It's a ticking time bomb or whatever.
Yeah, because then we know something they don't. We're a part of the story.
You're a little bit ahead of the characters.
What does the mind do when you're watching this? I know me, and I have one of those kind of minds that if I'm given information, I oftentimes, and it's one of the reasons I suck reading books, is I will ponder what they've exposed to me for a good 20 minutes. And like with the book, I have no idea what I just read and have to go back and read it again. So in a movie, do we do the same thing? This is such a calm moment. Do you build the moments in a movie like this so that mind can have a minute to digest everything? Because nothing occurs. We know information no one else here knows. We know what's kind of going on and what's about to happen. And suddenly, the biggest thing that I get out of this is that I love Julius's bow-legged shuffle.
Yeah,
I mean,
they did definitely make sure to ape it up with their walking.
But I asked that because do you build this scene for this purposeful reason? Nothing's occurred other than what we have knowledge of. Are we letting people digest what's occurred to this moment? And that's why we give them a quiet, silent moment.
Well, maybe because we just came off of the moment with Taylor shouting.
Yeah.
We just came off of Taylor being led out of that office and shouting, "What are you afraid of, doctor?" And then we go to, the script says a few hours later. It's not quite 6 hours, right?
It's got to be less than 6.
Zayas had said, we're giving you 6 hours. And it's still nighttime, or at least appears to be nighttime. The jail is now dark. We haven't seen the jail dark as far as I remember.
And apes are smoking, so it must be after dark.
There you go. It's after hours.
Well, and I find that really odd. So we've got kind of the traditional cell that we were kind of looking at before. We've got Nova in one and Taylor in another. She's still in this jail cell for some reason.
Right.
We've announced that it's Julius who's smoking.
Yep.
We get a really kind of long period of him just kind of relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was a big 5 seconds of him just kind of sitting there. I'm having a good time. Mm-hmm. What I found odd is that when this other chimp kind of rattles, he's rattling on an exterior
right.
He's coming into the
jail door.
Yeah.
Why is Julius also locked into an office? He gets his keys out, unlocks the door. Maybe that's how he stays safe.
Julius,
turns that door, like you said, how they turn.
He got the pivot door.
The pivot door.
Yeah. Got the pivot
and
door.
then walks across to the young ape,
right?
The young chimp. But it was just kind of funny. I'm like, why is he unlocking himself out of a room to get into the room to unlock this other ape chimpanzee to come in?
Right.
In a much previous minute, Julius had a problem locking a gate. It took him a good 5 seconds just to get the key in there and lock, and then he went and did something else. So maybe he's been punished by this. They put him in there. He's got to learn to unlock every door that he gets to do it in a nice, smooth motion.
Well, all I know is when I watch Blazing Saddles, everybody sat on the outside of the cages. They didn't sit inside. So
he was inside this, unless the jail or cells or pens themselves have 2 locking mechanisms on either side of the room.
Or maybe Julius just wants to get a moment away to go smoke, and this is the only place of solitude.
He's sneaking,
right?
He's sneaking a cigarette, so
you were talking last week about wild walls. For all we know, there's not a wall in front of him that goes to somewhere else. That's just a door that's closed, and he
Right.
can walk off towards the camera and pass the camera to somewhere else. I don't know. He might not be locked into a room. It's just a door that's there.
So there's a young chimp. He asks, "Are you Julius?" Julius goes, "What do you want?" I think it was kind of like what do you want?
What do you want?
What are you doing here?
That's my
Come here."
favorite. My favorite acting of the whole thing.
Brad Pitt?
Yeah, I either get the car repairman at the very first who talks just like this, or I get, "What do you want?" It kind of sounds like Mickey from the Rocky movies. What are you waiting for?
Julius,
What's in the box?
of all the apes and chimps and orangutans
There
that
we
we've
go.
seen,
Yay!
Julius is the only one that just always sounds kind of stupid.
Yeah.
They're like, oh,
He sounds okay.
he's
But-
always like, he sounds goofy. So he's like, "What do you want?" And then the young chimp says he's from the Office of Animal Affairs. He motions to Taylor, says, "This male's to be transferred to the zoo."
And did you notice that while Julius is talking with the cigar clamped into his mouth, his ape mouth can't move because his human mouth is clamped down. So every time he talks, he had just no mouth movement while all the stuff.
So he's basically Triumph the Comic Insult Dog, is what you're saying.
When he's got the cigar in his mouth, he's just moving his head around going,
Julius says, "At this hour, who says so?"
for me to
Letting us
poop
know
on.
that it is an unusual hour
Right.
in the evening.
Yeah.
It's not 6 p.m. It's not 7 p.m. It's an unusual time for somebody to come in and make a request.
Yeah.
And Julius is like the hardest working ape in this universe because
He's the only one that works in
always
the prison.
jail.
Yeah.
He has no other job.
Well, he has a sick grandmother at home that he has to work extra hours to make a little bit of extra ape dough. That's why he's there. And yes, I did that purposely because my wife will constantly, if we ever go to a restaurant and I'm like, she's like, "That waiter is so sweet and cute. You know, he has a sick grandmother. He's working hard
That's
for
where
her."
that came from?
Yeah, that was actually looking at her, wondering if I'd get her illicit. But real quick, our young ape kid here, because we have to know who this is. He was a character actor named Lou Wagner, worked for years in Hollywood, went on to have small roles in Airplane, H.R. Puffin stuff, and he will reappear in Conquest for the Planet of the Apes at some point.
As the same character, or just,
I don't know. When we get there, I
We'll have to
will
remember to
definitely.
look that
Hey,
up,
here's
yeah.
Lou Wagner.
Lou Wagner. You said Lou Wagner made me think of Lyle Wagner.
Lyle Wagner. That's
Oh.
what I
That's what
thought.
made me think
That's
of, yeah.
exactly what I was
like,
thinking.
"That's
first.
Lyle Wagner." What?
No, not Lyle Wagner. Lou Wagner. And trust me, he looks more. Lyle sounds like a very pretty person. Not that Lou,
Not Lou.
wasn't attractive, but Lou looked like Lou.
Oh, no love.
Lou
for
benefited
No
from
love
the
for Lou.
chimpanzee makeup. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say that, Sean.
But they really monkey it up with their walking in these scenes. They make
both
sure
of them,
to-
both of them definitely have it.
Like, kinda, yeah.
They were.
I'm
It's the
sauntering.
Simeon Gate dance.
So this young ape kind of puts some doubts. Says, "Didn't they tell you anything? The Anti-Vivisection Society is up in arms." All right, so we do have organizations out there that are looking after
to save the
humans.
humans.
Hello, I'm the smart one now. I actually threw that out 2 or 3 episodes ago. So yes, there are. It's like the PETA for humans.
it's almost like-
HETA.
But it wasn't. But it wasn't really announced, right? We're now getting
We now know that there are multiple facets to this society. Not everybody
Right,
hates
right.
humans.
the Anti-Vivisection Society is up in arms. So what exactly?
I remember vivisection is taking somebody apart while they're alive. So we're saying there might be anti-vivisection. They're not saying they're necessarily anti-experimentations on humans. Just don't cut them up while they're alive.
Yeah, but you're also now thinking that do they have a way to knock them out? Do they do anything? Maybe that's the only way they can do it. Is just, hey,
while
hey,
they're
you're
alive, they have no
strap them down.
anesthetics or anything. They know how to transfer blood, but they don't know how to.
It goes back to Clive Owen operating on himself on the Nick like that.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
yeah, when he had
That's
to-
what they basically do to the humans, slice them open.
Maybe.
So he says they're going to save this beast from those butchers in the lab. If he can speak, he belongs in a public zoo. So do we have some salvation for Taylor? Is this an option for him?
How many?
Life in a public zoo, and does he get to read like Shakespeare while he's there since he can speak?
But wasn't that an episode of Twilight Zone?
The where they put humans in a zoo on another planet.
Yeah. I mean, this
Ooh.
is kind of a lift from a Twilight Zone episode.
Well, that makes me think there was one Amazon note that I decided not to put here that apparently Serling used the title Colonel Taylor a couple of times in Twilight Zone episodes that had nothing to do with this. So apparently Taylor's not the name from La Planète
The
des
book?
Singes. So
Really?
that was
Well,
his own.
Well, I'd be curious to find out if that episode of
Find it. That'd be great to know.
Twilight Zone came out before or afterwards. The idea of putting people in zoos.
That's interesting. I don't recall that one at all.
I'm also just curious because he's saying that the chimp that we don't know yet, he's talking that Taylor spoke in public and people know about it. I wonder how many people in the society now know that Taylor spoke. How prevalent is this information?
It did feel like almost everybody in Simeon City was in the square that day. It's from the wide shot, it does not look like the biggest of cities in the world.
We don't know how big it is.
And we talk about the jungle, we talk about the Forbidden Zone, but this makes the society sound a lot larger than it is.
Sure.
A little larger than we've been given. So he says if he can speak, he belongs in a zoo. And then this young chimp just kind of gives us kind of his side.
Yeah, this.
But what'll probably happen is that some money-mad grown-up will put him in a circus, and then we'll have to pay to see what rightfully should have. We're getting these are not just creatures that are raiding their fields that apparently can't talk. They're
putting them in circuses and stuff like
zoos
that.
and museums.
But isn't that what we do with animals? We take elephants, we put them there. We take lions, we put them there. Is that what they're trying to say? Is that there are different levels to which we take the animals and what we do to them? Is that all they're trying to say?
I know we're only an hour and 20 minutes into a society that we've never seen before, but we've only seen horses and humans.
Mm-hmm.
What animals are in this either zoo or circus? So is
sloths?
Is this a flea circus where it's just one animal that's doing everything? It's all humans. Also, by saying a money-mad grown-up, we also know this is a society that has commerce of some sort. It's not just
didn't they also
sort of barter?
I think they mentioned some financial system way earlier.
That I don't recall.
Yeah, I think they did. I think they mentioned it. Oh, because whenever Cornelius and Zira and she was going to get a raise, or he was up for a raise,
that's right. Yeah,
therefore you insinuate there's some kind of economical system.
So we can assume that if there are circuses and there are public zoos, that there are PETA and animal rights activists
that's HETA
that are trying to
well, isn't it
trying to look
I don't know. Maybe
Apes
trying
for
to
the
look out for
preservation
horses,
of
trying to look out for humans.
PEPA. Primates. Sorry. Go ahead. You're trying to make real points and we're
just sitting
giggling.
over here goofing off. All right.
No, I wonder, is Zaius trying to shut down more than just scientific research, but maybe he himself is, in this sense, an anti-animal rights activist. I mean, he's really coming across as kind of a right side, sympathizer, somebody who would, want to mine in Utah and give away 2 million acres of land.
Wow.
But we're getting the sense that there are all these other cultural elements inside this society that are trying to look out for humans or left-leaning causes. And I'm just interpreting that Zaius is actually on not just the religious side or the zealot side, but he's also actually kind of, these are my principal philosophies, and therefore I have to shut down scientific research, I have to shut down care for humans, I have to shut down all these other things. I don't know.
Is it not possible that Zaius is playing the true politician of today? I'm going to do everything I can to deflect every bit of concentration on one fact, which is the truth, that we have a talking human. Right. Instead, there are all these different things out there. It's the religious zealots, it's the scientific zealots, it's the people that are putting people in circuses. I've got you all focused on so many things.
We're not going to worry about that. They might be smart. Yeah.
I mean, it's a possibility. And that makes sense why you always kind of get those sense when you have these conversations when you're dealing with a villain, where the villain just kind of becomes normal. And that prior conversation with Zaius, where he's like, all upset about these things and trying to take everything down. And there's a conversation with Taylor. He's like, I'm just going to talk to you normal because it doesn't matter. Because I'm really a villain, but
you can't always be mustache twirling.
Right.
You have to be
the best villains in the world.
Thinks of himself as a villain. Yeah.
I mean, and when we've eventually and I'll throw this out now, when we eventually get to the second of the new films, Gary Oldman's villain, has moments of complete deep humanity that I thought are probably some of the boldest of an action film villain.
Rationale to his
100%. It makes sense. It's the best villains in the world are the ones that think they're doing right. They don't see their actions as villainous. They think they're doing something noble.
Story, yeah.
Right.
So Zaius is not a bad guy in his story.
Sorry, that's all of everything happening right now in modern politics.
I know.
Oh,
They don't see it. I don't know that that's true in everyday life.
In
but
human life, necessarily. In a story, though, to make it a believable story, you have to.
But here's even if you say that they think they're doing right, doesn't mean that they're not. It's not misgiven in their efforts to do right. They may not. It's not saying that they aren't making a mistake.
Well, think of it like this: Doctor Doom doesn't see himself as a bad